So we are joined by Claire, who is the e-commerce director at This Works. Just to give you a context of This Works, as we already saw, loads of people in the room know This Works and love your products. You're sold in 53 countries around the world through shops, retail and online, and you've recently been acquired by an American company or Canadian for a £43 million deal. What we're going to talk about today is becoming as successful in D2C as you are in retail. So the first question I have for you, Claire, and this is something that I think any digital startup brands will have this question when faced with a brand like This Works that is so well known, is do you have it easier? Because of the fact that you are so well known and you have such a large retail footprint?
It has to be said, I was really impressed with the show of hands there, so thank you. So retail online, it's been the long age debate. Is it better to have a retail footprint or go when you've got a really strong online business, which we have, thankfully, is a retailer friend or foe? And I think at the moment, more than ever, it's a really difficult one to sit on either side of the fence, because I think traditionally, when I first started in e-commerce, you had bricks and you had clicks, and it was great because you could sell some products through the bricks and then you sold other products through the clicks. However, those bricks are now also clicks. So they're bricks clicks because the retailers that we use, people like John Lewis, Marks and Spencer's, Boots, huge percentage of their business is also clicks. So the competitive landscape for This Works online is now sort of vast because we have the bricks encroaching and then we also have our third-party retailers. So the massive plus side is the awareness and the tapping into new customer audiences that you would not get just going out on your own. So, we're through the likes of John Lewis, we have a platform to be able to get that brand awareness. The downside is the space that we're competing in for those customers, and you're competing against yourself, is getting really, really tough out there. So I think when you balance it all up, if I had the choice, do you want a retail footprint or not? I don't have that choice. Commercial director would go nuts. But if I did have that choice, I would say yes, you do need the bricks as well. There is more benefit to it, and you just have to make sure that your D2C arm is really powerful and gives a reason to shop with you and repeat shop with you, and try and win that customer back.
So let's talk about the D2C arm. You guys recently have moved from, I think, Magento onto Shopify. Mm-hmm. How are you finding it? And tell us about the setup that you guys have for D2C.
So the move happened last July, and we have Shopify platform for our European site, US site, and a separate site that we have some CBD lines on from our Canadian company. It's so easy to use. I think that's the plus. So I'm new back into This Works, and I've previously used Magento, etc. New to Shopify. So I've come in sort of fresh face to it all and gone, what's it all about? And quite quickly you can see that it's so tailored to what you need. Pros and cons again, there's so much you could go after. It can be quite dazzling and what's the next shiny thing to plug in. But the plus side is that it's so flexible, so easy to use, and the control that you now have over your site rather than having to pay huge expensive developer costs every time you just want to change an image. So that's a big plus.
Now, Claire, you have told me already what one of your favourite things is about the Shopify store, and you also told me a secret, which is what's the very first thing you do in the mornings when you get to the office. Tell us, what is the very first thing you do when you get to the office every day?
After a cup of tea. That's the first thing. So get the cup of tea, and the first email I open, even before the sales email, and this is the eCom director saying this, is the Hotjar email. I love to see the customer feedback, and I just find so fascinating, and we're only on the basic package at the moment. That is definitely one. I don't know if Hotjar are here, but there's going to be more coming your way. Because I just love the customer feedback. And I've kind of got a bit of a 3-strike rule. See customers saying something 3 times, we need to look into it. We need to prioritise it. So, for example, we recently had customers saying, we've like everyone in the room, got a few supply chain issues at the moment, and we're seeing more out of stocks than we'd like to. So we've had some customers saying, I have to actually click in to see the product to find out it's then out of stock. It's really annoying. And I'm thinking, well, that's really odd, because I go on the product and I can see a nice sold out sign without having to click on it. Anyway, three customer complaints came in. So we get the team all over it because 3 is too many. It turns out there is some bug in the system that the sold out sign doesn't show to everyone. So that's something that we can then go in and fix. So yeah, Hotjar is really key to me.
And then it was also listening to customers that led to the launch of one of your most famous products that has sold 8 million units. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the story of what happened with that.
So that would be the sleep spray, which I think most people, that's why you know of This Works, yep, nodding. So I've got a bit of a history with This Works. So 10 years ago, I was the eCom manager and then moved out of London, left, and now I'm back as eCom director 10 years later. So I've got the history, but with a big gap in the middle. But I was there for the launch of Sleep. And the reason why the iconic Sleep Spray launched was it actually was an amenities product that was in Crowne Plaza hotels in the US. And so it was just put pillow spray in each of the hotel rooms. It wasn't actually really a product or a range that we sold. But the customer services, the emails that started coming in was, we love this Sleep Spray. We want to buy more. This is great. And you just start going, okay, there's an opportunity here. And then the rest is history. Suddenly 8 million sold 10 years later. So I think the customer insight is just for that you can get from being a D2C business. That's the beauty of it, that you can then give that to your product developers. It can inform every part of the business. And it's made Sleep what it is today.
Great. So let's come on to one of, I'm not sure it's our favourite topics, but a daily topic of conversation within Bolt Digital is that of the CPA. What is this brand's or that brand's cost of customer acquisition today? So let's talk about This Works' approach to CPA and how you look at it. Is it the predominant prevailing metric for This Works as a brand?
No. So obviously, D2C brands, everyone's obsessed with the CPA. It's the CPA, what's our CPAs doing? Why are our CPAs doing that? Why is our media not as efficient? But it really is and it's sort of like a bit of an education thing I did coming into the brand in terms of the role of the CPA is just one of many metrics. And when you actually think about the funnel and all the customers coming in and going through, if you have a great converting site, great payment methods, seamless checkout, your CPA will be better. Have some great PR, have a store footprint, your CPA will be better because there's more people looking for you. So we can get so hung up on the CPA, but I really try not to. And you sort of have to educate the rest of the business as well in terms of CPA is not the be all and end all. It's a very important metric. But there's other areas that will have a bigger impact than just going, how do we make the media more efficient? Because it's not just about media efficiency.
And I know that there were certain times at which macro trends, and I'm sure that's the case for everyone in the room, have affected your CPA in a positive and negative way. Mm-hmm. Do you want to share some of those as well? So there is nothing like a global pandemic for a skincare and wellness brand to do wonderful things to your CPA. So last year, because we do have the wellness products, our CPA was the lowest we've ever seen, and it did result in us sort of building on that this year. And actually, I know a lot of brands in the room are in the same place from last year to this year.
Oh, it's crazy the difference this year, last year. So I think also the other thing we're able to do, again, using the customer insight, we launched an entire new range, and I think it was something like 9 weeks, called Stress Check. And that instantly was a huge hit and really cheap CPAs for us because it was something that resonated with customers at the time.
And what were the customers saying then during that period for you to launch that range, or how did the idea come about?
So it's May Anna, our CEO. She's pretty inspirational. She picks up on all the trends, and you could just see it. You could just feel it, and this kind of just everyone not quite knowing what's happening, what's going on, taking more interest in looking after themselves. And it was kind of like a natural add-on to sleep, that it's more about sort of the stress and the effects on the body, the skin, etc. that you played into that.
Brilliant. So something that you and I have also talked about is the Lisa Aldridge effect on the business. What does that mean?
This is my own term. It's Lisa Aldridge, and this is again going back 10 years. So when we were a small brand, the great thing about being a small brand is you really know your business in a really granular way, but you can literally see the peaks and troughs in sales and visitor numbers because it doesn't all just kind of start blurring into one. And I remember coming in on a Monday morning, And Hotjar didn't exist, so I didn't look at Hotjar. I did make my cup of tea, went straight into sales, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, what's happened this weekend? This is amazing! Like, what activity? Then I instantly went, God, bad news! Some spend caps have come off something, and we've spent too much money somewhere, and something's gone wrong. And dug a bit deeper into analytics, and there was a blog post from Lisa Aldridge just calling out one of our comments. And the visitor numbers and conversions we saw from that blog post for about 6 weeks afterwards was absolutely insane. So for me, that really signed and sealed the power of independent reviews, and it's something that we build out as a strategy now. The independent reviews, if you can harness them, especially for new product launches, and make the most of the independent review, it's absolute gold dust. And although we're bigger now, you don't quite see the same spikes. It's still a priority for getting that continual sales level. And
when you're launching a new product like the Stress Check range, how do you go about getting those initial independent reviews? What are some really practical things that some of the brands here in the room can do to get those comments and feedback on their products?
Well, we're very lucky we have a panel, and the whole concept of This Works is it works, and it doesn't launch until our panel says it works. So throughout the whole of the MPD process, we've got built into every step of the way to get customer feedback. And once we get to the end point, if they don't come back saying this works, product doesn't launch.
Do they ever come back and say this doesn't work?
Some have, and it's had to go back for a reformulation. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It has to be This Works. And through that, they're giving reviews and responses, and as being part of our panel, we can then use those legitimate reviews to help launch.
And how many people do you have on the panel?
Well, when I was there, it was 50, 10 years ago. Now I think we're up to about 850, so it's pretty mammoth to manage. But it does make all our claims statistically relevant, and we're able to use the feedback. And
it means all products launch with reviews and feedback from customers. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Claire.
Okay.
Thanks very much to Claire from This Works.
Thank you.